Thanks for joining us. I'm Randall Bennett. So Nokia came out today with their own Ovi Store, is what they're calling it. Now it's kind of like the iPhone App Store and the BlackBerry app world, but it's a little bit different. This obviously works on Nokia phones, like Symbian devices. But is this actually going to change the game, or is Nokia really late to the party and trying to catch up? Let's talk to a few technology journalists who know what they're talking about. We bring in Paul Miller from Engadget. Paul, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Also, we bring in Rory Reid from CNET UK. Rory, thanks for being with us as well.
Hello, peace.
So let's talk about this. Now, obviously, Nokia is a little bit late to the game here. Apple kind of invented this app concept. And since then, people like RIM came out with their BlackBerry app world. There's an Android marketplace. There's all these different app stores where you can find applications for your cell phone. Paul, do you think that this is kind of a necessary move for Nokia? And how important is this to the future of Nokia?
Oh, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, this has been a huge, not only revenue driver for Apple. I think they're basically breaking even on the App Store, but just the popularity of apps and the fact that people get something they're excited about and they show their friends. It makes your phone a lot more useful and exciting. And so most people just don't know how to put an app on their phone. Obviously, Symbian is fully capable,
yeah.
But this makes it so sort of the everyman is more likely to just get new functionality and like their phone more.
With Nokia, they've kind of they're walled off to their own thing. They obviously are using Symbian, which is more open than other closed phone platforms, but it's obviously an aging thing. Do you think this adds anything to Symbian for other people who might be looking at Symbian versus Android, Paul?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, obviously, the selection is really limited. It's really going to be based on what the developers do and how much power they find in the OS to make something compelling. But at the same time, there are millions, tens of millions of devices that this is available for now. It's a huge market.
So a lot of people in the US might not be so familiar with Symbian and Nokia because, frankly, Nokia doesn't care as much about the US as they do in Europe. Rory, from your take over in the UK, what do you think of this Ovi Store for Nokia, and are people excited about it around where you are, at least phone nerds?
I think they are excited about it. I mean, because for a long time, the people that use Nokia devices have been kind of jealous of the iPhone and the kiddies with the iPod touches and stuff, because they could always jump online and download their apps that have like simulated beer drinking and things like that. So this is kind of their chance to actually show off in the pub with their friends and say, look, I can have a woo button. And it's been an absolutely necessary step just to kind of pacify the Nokia users and bring them up to the kind of cool standards that the iPhone kids are getting right now.
So they're going to make all sorts of farting applications and all these different things in the Ovi Store.
Absolutely.
Now, you've had a chance to play with this, Rory, hands-on. What's your initial impressions of the Ovi Store, and what do you kind of think of the launch day?
Okay, first of all, the actual launch itself was a bit of a disaster. Nothing worked. That could access it. I think it's initially available on Nokia N95s, which is a good phone, but there's millions of these things available. So people actually jumped online straight away and tried to access Ovi, and it didn't work. They simply didn't have enough servers in place, not enough bandwidth to cater for everyone that wanted to use it. So I imagine most of the people that tried to access it left disappointed. They didn't. They just simply couldn't download anything. They have a website as well on the internet. You can go online and try it without. And again, it was the same problem. That they didn't have enough bandwidth. I think they actually tried to add some servers, and it was kind of intermittent. But the whole thing, I think Nokia will be really annoyed that they spent so long playing catch up, and this was their big moment to kind of get involved and and try and usurp the iPhone in one area, and they just completely failed.
So past day one, where they basically dropped the ball completely, have non-working service. You got in though, and you were able to try some of these different apps. Was there anything that really blew you away, or was it kind of like, whatever, these are N95 apps?
It's all stuff that you've seen before, either on the N95 before or on the iPhone. The one thing that they do have up their sleeve is the fact that it has location-based services. So, for example, in theory, and I haven't tried this aspect of it, but you could be in a foreign country, say Spain or something, and Ovi would know you're abroad in Spain, and it would recommend perhaps like local restaurants in the
Yeah.
vicinity where you're doing your touristing, and that's one thing that the Apple App Store doesn't actually have yet. So
Yeah. I mean,
you know, assuming it works, this is all hearsay at the moment, but
yeah.
assuming it works, then I think that's one aspect that they might have the edge over Apple.
So let's talk about one final thing. I mean, there is some aspects of location-based services through third parties like Loot, but I know Nokia is doing that kind of baked into the store, which is the real big difference. Let's talk about, the takeaway. So, head-to-head in the U.S., Paul, for your money, are you, if you were looking at your next smartphone, does the Ovi store play into your decision at all, or are you still kind of, do you think that this is still just, it's a nice thing for Nokia to have, but not really influencing you yet?
I mean, I don't think I'm going to buy a Nokia a smartphone next. I've got a lot on the table here,
Yeah.
but it makes it more compelling to me. I just think Nokia they need to do a lot of work. I mean, currently the store doesn't have screenshots of applications. It doesn't have very detailed reviews. There's like a 3-star system.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend money on something I don't know how good it's going to be, especially since in the States, I'm not going to have a lot of friends telling me to get a particular app or with those location-based services, friends who I can bounce off of. It's just it's kind of a shot in the dark right now.
So Nokia, a good try for the U.S. I don't know. We'll see if they can get it together. Obviously, they don't have the smartphone selection right now of things like the BlackBerry Storm 2 that's going to be coming out. The Palm Pre, which is a week away. All these different smartphones that people are really excited about. Rory, what are you thinking? Is Europe excited? Is this going to change the landscape, or is this, what's your takeaway of this?
I wouldn't say Europe is excited necessarily, more curious, if anything.
Yeah.
Let's just say that there's millions of handsets that this thing's going to be available for, so they've already got the install base there. So I think the service will be pushed out to the existing users, and they'll be curious as to how it works. And once they see all the farting buttons and stuff like that, they'll try them out. They'll download some of the free applications and get involved. Whether it's quite enough to bring the cool factor to Nokia is another debate. Nokia's really big in Europe, as you guys know, I'm sure, but they still don't have that cool factor that the Apple guys have. So time will tell, I think.
We'll have to see for
Yeah,
sure.
and one more note along those lines. The great thing here is that Nokia is pushing this out to existing phones. Microsoft had the opportunity; they could have built Windows Mobile Marketplace for 6.1, but they chose instead to push it to exclusively to 6.5 and later, which is going to really limit the market for potential app developers for Windows Mobile.
So it sounds kind of like, right now you have Apple, Palm, BlackBerry kind of the lead. Then you have Nokia, who's a little bit behind. And then you have Microsoft, who missed a big, huge opportunity with the Windows Mobile 6.1. But, they're trying at least. Guys, we're going to have to leave it there because we're out of time. Paul Miller from Engadget, thanks for being with us. Also, Rory Reid from CNET UK, thanks for joining us as well. I'm Randall Bennett. That is it for today's Tech V. We're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're everywhere. So subscribe to us, and we'll catch you next time. See you then.